We'd like to think, if you ask most people what genre of Chinese movies they like best, their answer would be action. Whether it's wuxia, kung fu, or your traditional guns and explosions, Chinese can make some pretty decent action films. So what we've done is handpicked 5 Chinese action movies from the last half of the 2010s that fit into one of these 3 action types. You might know all 5 of these, or have never heard of any of them, but one thing we can promise you, you should be able to find at least one movie in this list that you'll enjoy. Hi, I'm the Artie Dans and welcome to this video on 5 great modern Chinese action movies. If you're new and you enjoy what you're about to watch, please consider subscribing to see more videos like this. This modern wuxia movie comes courtesy of the director of the first film, Liu Yang, and he has done a great job with the sequel. With a keen eye for colour and some excellent set design, Brotherhood of Blades 2 is a prequel to the first movie and tells the story of an Imperial Guard, Shen Lian, played by Chang Shen, reprising his role from the first title. When Shen Lian is tasked with the job of punishing an artist with death, her only crime being the fact that she uses her paintings to speak out against the monarchy, he recognises her as the woman he met just days before after unknowingly purchasing one of her creations. Instead, he saves her life and by doing that uncovers a plot by his superior, Lu Wenzhao, to overthrow the current leader of the Ming dynasty. Now considered a traitor, Captain Pei Lun, played by Lei Jiayin and starring in director Liu Yang's upcoming 2021 blockbuster Assassin in Red, is set to investigate Shen Lian. At times the story can get rather bogged down in complexity. There is always a new character being introduced that has something to do with the plot to overthrow the monarchy or who wants the painter Bezhai dead. And at almost 2 hours, it can feel like a bit of a chore at times to keep up. But the strength of Liu Yang is in the visual composition of the film. It is the key element that will keep you glued to the screen. The vivid colours of nature, the angles of the architecture, and the details in the costumes. It's a visual feast for the eyes, matched by the equally spectacular sounds of swords clinking against each other in one of the many impressive action sequences. And don't forget, that's the main reason you're watching this, for the action. This wuxia movie is heavy on the knife and sword play, with only a sprinkle of any kung fu and wire work. Interestingly, guns make an appearance as well towards the end of the film. While this movie might be just a little bit too long, it's still a fun ride, and being a prequel in story means you don't need to see the first movie to enjoy this one. Explosion is a 2017 action thriller, much in the same vein as Taken, where our main character is an expert at a particular skill and is looking for revenge. In this case, our main character is Zhao Shudong, and he is an explosives expert. Zhao works as a blast technician in a mine. His job is to ensure the explosive and charges are set with the right compounds, and then to blow the mine safely. But something goes wrong with his latest explosion, and he ends up killing 4 of his workmates. When he decides to investigate what happened, he uncovers that his compound has been swapped out with something far more powerful. And as he learns the truth, the number of dead bodies piles up behind him. This is a good old-fashioned revenge film. A few different plot points converge together until the audience fully understands who the main bad guy is. And while it may seem a little convoluted at first due to the rather pacey first hour, it comes together in a rather solid way. That's not to say it's believable, and when watching a film like this, you should always suspend disbelief, especially with things like how Zhao is able to rustle up enough components to build his bombs. It's also never really explored how Zhao is so good at making small explosive devices. The movie makes a point to let us know he's been doing it for 20 years, but some of the bombs he creates look like they require a pretty complex scientific degree. You may notice a very familiar face in the footage, and that is Nan Yu. She is well known not only for her Chinese movies like Wolf Warrior and No Man's Land, but also for her Hollywood output in The Expendables 2. Yi Hongduan does a great job in the lead role of Zhao, with Jing Chun Wang from Shadow and The Climbers also putting in a fantastic effort as the police officer and friend who hunts down Zhao to uncover the truth. This one comes highly recommended. Hands up who likes movies about Wing Chun. Thanks to the rising popularity of the Ip Man movies, Wing Chun has become the new staple in Chinese kung fu movies. Released around the time of Ip Man 3, this film from 2015 continues that trend. You'll need to pay attention while watching this film, as it's fast-paced and really moves the story along, not leaving too much time to dwell in between action scenes. But for the casual kung fu enthusiast, there's still plenty on offer. Liao Fan from Let the Bullets Fly and the recent hit Wild Goose Lake stars as Grandmaster Chen. He moves to Tianjin with the intent of opening up a Wing Chun school, but after an encounter with Grandmaster Zheng, he is told in order to do that, he must train a local fighter to defeat the champions of 8 schools. This is part of a plan by Zheng to defeat the trainee and regain his status. Chen accepts the offer, unbeknownst that Zheng is about to double-cross him. He marries a waitress at a Western restaurant, Zhao, played by the very talented Song Jia, who won several Best Actress awards for her role in this film. After defeating a few local thugs, a rickshaw driver Geng turns up to Chen's house to challenge him. Chen takes him on as his trainee, or disciple, and skills him in the art of Wing Chun, which Geng picks up very quickly. He then uses his skills to begin defeating the champions of the other academies. This eventually leads to a battle of grandmasters, where some impressive kung fu and knife skills are on display in a series of very poetic-like action scenes. Some entertaining music adds an element of light comedy to the film, with solid performances from the whole cast that really forces the audience to keep up or be left behind. If you're looking for this one, Wellgo USA has pressed an English subtitled version on Blu-ray disc, and is well worth the effort to hunt down and watch if you like to see blades in your kung fu movies. What happens when you give Dante Lam, acclaimed Hong Kong film director, a big budget and a real-life story? You get Operation Mekong. Based on the real-life Mekong River massacre event that occurred in 2011 about the murder of 13 Chinese citizens along the Burmese section of the river. Their bodies were dumped into the river, where they were discovered by a local village. The ships recovered the day after by Thai police after a gunfight with the culprits, containing 900,000 meth pills. It was revealed a local drug gang, led by Norcam, was responsible for the massacre. A joint task force was set up between Chinese and Thai police to capture the gang and their leader and bring them to justice. The dramatization of the event follows an elite Chinese Special Forces team headed by Gao Gang, played by Mr. Six, and the captain lead actor Zhang Hangyu, and local intelligence operative Fang Xingwu, played by the Taiwanese-Canadian actor Eddie Peng. Both men have since worked with Dante Lam in other films. Zhang Hangyu starred in Operation Red Sea, also based on a true event, while Eddie Peng is in the upcoming The Rescue. When watching action movies based on real events, the most important thing for the audience to remember is this: this event is real, but it didn't happen the way it's being portrayed here, and that's a good mindset when going into this film. The action is fantastic. Set pieces are well designed, and the flow, with the exception of the final shootout in the jungle at the end, feels right. Although, as you'll see during the scenes of the speedboats down the Mekong, a lot of CGI has been used to create these scenes. As with every good action movie, we are introduced to our hero early on. There is some conflict with the higher ranks of the Chinese forces about using him, but he is a tough, non-compromising character who gets things done. His intel specialist, as we later find out, has a history with one of the drug runners who threatens to derail the mission as it clouds his better judgment. But as the audience, we just want action, and whether that takes place on the water, in a crowded market, a shopping mall, or the jungle, we are witness to some high-energy scenes that would rival, if not best, the high points of American action cinema from the 80s. Just be warned, this is a pure propaganda puff piece of a movie. But that just makes it more fun, to be honest. It's an interesting paradigm shift in cinema, and as long as you don't take that element too serious, or even seriously at all, you're going to have a great time. It's got a weird title that's a bit of a turn-off, but star power galore with Aaron Kwok and Chow Yun-fat. This is a Chinese-Hong Kong co-production that hit cinemas on the 30th of September 2018, the same day as the highly acclaimed Shadow, and was both a critical and commercial success. Directed by Felix Chong, the man who co-wrote the Infernal Affairs and Overheard trilogies, this movie fits more in the action thriller genre than just a pure action film, but the action that is here is pure over-the-top quality. Aaron Kwok plays Lee Man, a struggling artist who has a very unique skill in being able to create perfect forgeries. The movie is mostly told from his point of view, in a Hong Kong police station where his ex-girlfriend Yun Man is hoping to bail him out so he can lead her to the painter, played by Chow Yun-fat, a mysterious man responsible for the death of her husband. Lee Man works for the painter. His job was to create the perfect replica of an American $100 note. Through the painter's small team, the audience is retold the story of the plate manufacturing, paper acquisition, and a violent heist to steal the particular ink used for the notes. A solid story has been crafted by Felix Chong, who was responsible for the writing as well as the directing. Action junkies after their fix will no doubt love the massive shootout in the Thai jungle, as well as the ink heist, which shares one of many similarities with the film The Usual Suspects. I'll let you work out the other similarities it shares. As expected, solid acting from Aaron Kwok, showcasing why he is one of Hong Kong's leading acting talents. And Felix Chong has really gotten the best out of Chow Yun-fat, whose later performances have been rather lackluster, but this will remind you of more of his later 90s work. If only this movie had ditched the awful English title and went with the literal translation of its Chinese name, which translates to unique. But whatever the title, make sure you check it out and stick around for the ending. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please press the like button and consider subscribing. We'll see you again next time.